All right. Good evening, y'all. What's happening, everybody? It's me, Brian Forbes, and welcome to Inside Steppin. Inside Steppin has moved, y'all, from from Studio B to Studio A. So, of course, have a little bit of different feel today. We decided to make a few changes, make it a little more appealing, and deal more closely with the colors, as you can see, all the red of the brand. So, usually, y'all, we talk about the current events, which would be, of course, the 30th annual world's largest stepping competition. We are going to discuss it, but very little today because we got some other stuff that we want, more pressing matters, something I think needs to be dealt with. WB Reese is in the building. I see you, Val Wells, in the building. Thank you for stopping in. But we're gonna get right to it. So y'all get ready and let's get this party started. All right. So today, y'all, no videos tonight, no interviews, no pictures, no nonsense. We about to get it in, y'all. Felicia Walker's in the building. I see Sandy Paris and Reggie, Mr. Professor Reggie Miles is in the building. Reggie, we looking forward to your excursion to our great state of Texas and down here to the armpit. We call this the armpit of Texas down here in San Antone. So we look forward to you coming out and hanging out with us. So look at here, y'all. First, let me say that what we're going to talk about today is what I like to refer to and what has become familiar to me as confusion in stepping. But before we get off into that, let me first start out by saying congratulations to every contestant in the 30th annual world's largest steppers competition and masters. Big shouts out to the winners because y'all did that. That was a beautiful show, a fantastic showing. And let me just say, the clothes, man, y'all showed up and showed out. Listen, I gotta give now. Of course, we know by now, of course, because everybody's done their recaps. We know who the winners were. But rather than talk about the winners, I want to talk about since I'm mentioning fashion right here, right quick. Let me say this. Tick and Sherry Gordon. The thing that stood out the most to me, that was the classiest, most elegant look and dance that I have seen in a very long time in the steppers community. And I tell you, that blew me away. That all by itself. Drew, the moves, bruh, superb. I mean, I saw things that just phenomenal. And y'all know I love black excellence. I love it. And we had black excellence in the building on this weekend. That was a fantastic showing. Let me give a shout out. And don't get it twisted. There were some other things I saw that I was really pleased with as far as the fashion was concerned. But everybody looked so good. Oh man, looked just fabulous. Let me give a shout out to Tika, the tea lady, for providing Inside Steppin' with a phenomenal feed to be able to do our live coverage that we did of the show. Here in the studio, it came off beautifully. We thoroughly enjoyed it. We even had studio audience that was here, and we were voting on the different dances and winners and all that kind of thing. I believe I was the only one who actually called the masters the way that it would go. Lucky for me, I thought I lost, but I didn't. So it came out well. For those of you who have not seen that particular show, you can go on YouTube on Inside Steppin', and you can see in its entirety. And that show is 4 hours long. We did a half an hour lead up, and then the show started, and we were 4 hours into that thing, and it was phenomenal. So feel free to go to YouTube, and don't forget, y'all, I always need you to subscribe as much and as often as possible. I know I sound like vote early, vote often. You know how that goes. But we definitely need the support in regard to that. So don't forget to go to YouTube, subscribe, because pretty soon I am going to actually stop, I think, doing the live feed here on Facebook, because Facebook likes to act up. And we're going to just start going straight up to YouTube, and we'll put the link on Facebook. But we'll see. Anyway, let me start by saying, and I'm gonna piggyback off of well, let me just say this. The beginners category. Great showing. Now, the reason I'm specifically bringing up the beginners category, because it's going to actually deal with what we're going to talk about tonight. Because I feel that there is a lot of confusion in the steppers community across the nation. Now, I'm going to say this. There are not a lot of people, and I find myself in a unique position. There are not a lot of people who have lived all over the country and been a part of the steppers community across the country and as deeply ingrained as I have been. Now, there are some, but not many. And I said that as a qualifier for this reason. There's some things that I've come to understand about the dance community inside Chicago, the Mecca, and outside Chicago, where people who are not familiar with the culture and the understandings that come by second nature to those who have actually lived there all their lives, I believe there is some clarity that needs to be brought to the table. And I'm going to attempt to at least broach the conversation to a point where more questions can be asked, or hopefully I'm able to give some people some better understandings. Let me talk about the beginners category in the world's largest. I am excited that there were as many contestants. I am also excited that Pete saw fit, rather than to have 2 or 3 couples on the floor at any one time, he had individual couples. And I thought that was a great move. And here's why. In previous years, you've watched 2 to 3 couples on the floor at any one time. Now, it may have made the show seem long, but I think, and there was a lull in there for a minute where it got a little, but for the most part, it was a good show across the board. But here's what happened. You had the opportunity to really look and analyze each dancer and their partner, where you weren't looking back and forth trying to see whose dance was better or who was doing what, and one couple didn't necessarily steal the show away from the other dancers by doing some move and the whole crowd's going ooh, and the other dancers over there like just kind of making their way. So this was an opportunity for us to all get a bird's eye view, one-on-one, so to speak, with each couple, which I thought was great. Okay, now, because of that, that sort of microscope that they were put under, there were, I think, more accurate critiques of the dances. Now, in the beginners category, my initial thought about the couple who won, Rose and I do not remember. I've got that. Wait a minute. Let me see. The couple who won, they appeared to me to be Mark Brewer and Rose Turncoat. They appeared to me to be, when they hit the stage, they appeared to me to be professional dancers. I've been around the dance world and I'm familiar with the posture of professional dancers, but it was a fleeting thought. And if you watch my show that we did cover in the event, you'll hear me say that. They were interviewed yesterday on Talking Tea with Tika, and they did say that they were professional dancers. They began the dance themselves, though. They began to do stepping only in February. And instructed by Miss Sherry Gordon. Excellent choice. Now, Here's the thing about the beginners category, though. What bothers me is that we have, and this is going to play into the conversation of where I'm going with all of this. Stay with me. We have across this entire country a plethora. And when I say a plethora, I'm talking about a whole bushel basket. I'm talking about a gang of so-called instructors. Now, y'all know I try not to, I'm not here to step on anybody's toes. I'm not here to create controversy, but I am going to give perspective, and I am going to raise questions. But because we have so many individuals across this nation who have labeled themselves posthumously and otherwise, who have labeled themselves instructors, regardless of what anyone else has had to say, I'm an instructor, because they have seen fit to teach people the basic 8 count. Now, let me start by saying, because of my own experience in Steppin, and I started in 1977 at 11 years old. I think that's right, 76, 77, something like that, 76. Yeah. Anyway, when I began this journey that we're all on, there were no instructors. But because I've been doing it this long, I've seen a lot of stuff. Now, these instructors, these self-proclaimed instructors who are teaching this 8 count, now don't misunderstand me, I take nothing away from the process. It is a necessity. But my my ideology of what that is, when you learn your basic, that to me is you've been given a key. You've been given a master key that allows you to unlock the door behind which your individual dance resides. When you get inside of your home after you have used your key to get in, you don't sit in the house and hold your key. You put it down, and then you begin to enjoy the fruits of your labor inside your residence. You don't sit there holding the key. This is the way I feel about learning the basic and going into the dance the way these instructors should be teaching it. But what bothers me is that we have instructors who are not, many whom cannot, because they don't know how or why, give their students the proper information in order to advance beyond the front door. They've given them the key, but they never told them they need to go through the door. It's like you standing there and the door is shut in your face, but you don't know that you can open it and go inside and become who you are. I've seen instructors try to tell, in fact, I know of one young lady who was told, don't swing your hips like that. There was nothing wrong with her basic, but she was told not to do this or not to do that. Because these people who are not familiar with the culture, the city, the lifestyle of Steppin, they had been taught by another so-called instructor not to do certain things. And to me, it removed her personality from the dance. Now you have people that to me that's backwards teaching. That's reverse teaching. I can't count how many times I've been with people from other cities where we've gone into Chicago, and they get in the clubs and they get to the sets, and all of a sudden a light bulb goes off, and they're like, "Oh, now I get it." They get it now because they finally see what we who have been there say. There is a disconnect that takes place with people who don't know and they're teaching. How are you teaching something that you don't know? There's confusion right here, and I'm going to get further into that. Now, I'm saying this to say I was excited to see so many beginner people in the category this year and how well so many of them danced. It was phenomenal. But you know what that tells me? And here's the thing. Let me give shouts out to Sharnice Simmons, Shah Rashan Studio in Chicago on 69th Street. Her people showed up and showed out. And she's serious about what she does. She knows her business. But here's what I want to know. If you're watching this and you live across this nation and you call yourself an instructor, where are your people? Because here's the thing. As an instructor, and this is my opinion, and it should be yours too, you would want to showcase your ability to give this dance to others and allow them to show the world how great you are as an instructor. Now, a lot of people say, oh, they don't want to do it. They scared. They this, they that. Well, if they scared, guess what that means? Maybe you haven't instilled the confidence in them as an instructor that you should. Maybe they're scared because they don't feel like what you've taught them qualifies them to be the best. Because there is no difference between the people that you watched on that stage this weekend and yourself. Ladies, you put your slips and your dresses on the same way. Men, you put your pants on the same way. What separates you from them? Guess what it is? Your instructor. Now, and that's to any instructor. I don't give a damn. You don't like it. Well, see me about it. Now, all I'm saying is we have reached a place in this dance, and this thing is really starting to grow. It is moving forward in ways that I think the future is looking real bright for Steppin. And I'm going to say like I always do, because I have nothing but love for my brother, Josiah Burt, who has taken the time and the effort and the energy and money to make sure that this dance is locked down for Chicago, who is now made a way for people to bridge that gap between the beginning and and I'm not going to say the end, because there is no end to this dance. This dance, there's no destination in Steppin. You don't get somewhere and stop. This is a journey. I'm still learning. I'm still learning this dance at 56 years old. There's still things that I see, and I'll give you a prime example. Drury Alexander, the phenom. You know, people, I never forget when I met him, when he was probably 16 or 17 years old, and people started calling him the phenom. And, you know, and I'm going to tell you this. He deserves that name. He now is the youngest to ever win the Masters in World's Largest. In case you don't know, I think Drew is either 30 or 31, something like that. Drew is a youngster. But guess what? At his age right now, he's done everything you can do in this dance. I don't know if there's anything left. I don't know what's left for him to do. And in fact, I interviewed him while we were in Dallas at Black and Bling, and I asked him about this. I said, Drew, if you win the Masters, since you are competing, I said, if you win the Masters, what's next for you? You've done everything almost you can do. What else you going to do? And he said, well, I'm going to continue my journey. See, now, you hear what he said? Which is what I say, the journey. It's a journey. It's not a destination. He's going to continue his journey, and he's going to continue to instruct and bring people into the dance and train them up to be the best. So guess what? Now you're going to see some of the people that Drew has trained moving forward. Something occurred to me over this weekend, and that was that I think we're watching right now, and you could say you heard it from me. I think we're watching right now a transition in this dance nationally. When you see the younger generation as they begin to move up and they are studying this craft, I'm starting to see where, and yesterday on Tika's show, Kirk White made a comment that I thought was profound. He said, we're getting older. We don't move like we used to. And he's right. And in fact, while we playing, there's people dropping dead left and right. So let's keep it 100. As things move forward in this dance, there's going to be a younger generation coming up. And it's happening right now in front of us. Things are changing. The world's largest competitors who have put in the work and actually train and practice every day. I'm going to use Doc, for example. A lot of people may or may not know Doc dances every day. Tick dances every day. People complain about, oh, they always win. But guess why, though? They have a priority. And it shows when they hit the floor. That's real. Now, back to the instructors. If your people are not willing to get up there and get on the floor, maybe you should question what it is that you're doing. Now, I admit that it does take courage to get up and get on that stage and perform in front of thousands of people, because there are thousands of people watching. If not in the room, we know there's at least 1,000 people in the room. There are thousands more across this country watching through video feeds, through lives. I had a gang of people on my show watching. Yes, it takes courage, but I'm going to use a quote that Tony Adway gave me, and he said, "This is not a courage contest, it's a dance contest." And let me tell y'all something. Successful people in this world are the ones that are willing to do what others won't. So you ask yourself, are you ready to be successful in this dance? Now, that's just a question only you can answer. Also, another thing that bothered me during this event, it bothered me. I'm not saying it should bother you or anybody else, but there was a disconnect, in my opinion, of the dancers on a lot of occasions throughout the contest. I did not care. This is a couples dance. I didn't care for the movements where two people ended up in two different areas of the dance floor. Now, I know sometimes, you break away and you do your thing, and you move about on the floor. Now, Reggie Miles just said, please do not forget the boppers, Lena Hill and Stanley Brown, who demonstrated the original bop. Listen, Reggie, you are 100% absolutely dead on point correct. They killed it. In fact, the two couples that I saw that demonstrated the bop flawlessly, one was Leanne Hill and Stanley Brown, and Tick and Sherry Gordon. Phenomenal. Now, Reggie brings up a very valid point as well. In this dance, it is coupled with bop and walking. Now, the thing about that is this. I love all of it. And when I started out dancing, it was bopping. That's how I got into the game, because y'all have heard me say it many times. I had older cousins that would come home. They all went to Hirsch because we lived over there in Chatham, and they would come home from school, and I was the crash test dummy. So everybody practiced on me, and that's how I learned to get it in. But that's part of, like many people from Chicago who all had parents, cousins, relatives that danced, and that's how we got the dance from children, and we moved up into it and progressed our dance into our future. But when we talk about using that key that I was talking about earlier, when you get that basic, once you get inside that door, you put that key in the lock and you turn that thing and you go inside that room. Everything that you learned on the other side of that door is on the outside. You're inside now. Enjoy and use what you've learned out there to enjoy what you have in your own personal dance. That bop and that walk are a part of the culture, the history, and the dance itself. And it becomes a necessary part. Now, this has taken me right to where I want to go with all of this. When I first moved here to Texas, now mind you, I lived in Tennessee, Memphis to be exact. My wife and I were some of the first people who actually organized an opportunity to teach stepping. This was before an 8 count was a thing. We lived in Atlanta. I watched Atlanta grow and become, or go through their growing pains and struggles. When we moved here, I walked into a situation where the people, and I didn't even know, I didn't have any idea how new the people here were to stepping. I didn't care because I wasn't immersed, I wasn't involved, and I had no intentions of getting involved. All I wanted to do, my wife and I wanted to go out and dance like we always had everywhere we've ever gone. So we went to our very first set here. And of course it was, we didn't have any, I guess, real expectations because we know what it's like to be in these other cities, and you get what you get and you try to get your dance on. But I will never forget that day we were there. My wife and I came in, we sat down, we ordered a couple of drinks. A song came on that we were familiar with. We got up, we danced, and we sat back down. But when we sat back down, the lady sitting at the table across from us leaned over and she said, "What was that y'all were doing?" And my wife and I looked at each other. "What do you mean?" She was like, "We were stepping." She was like, "I've never seen anybody step like that." I was like, "Really? Like, where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from here." "And where'd you learn to step?" "Here." "Oh, okay. Now, I didn't think too much about it. I just, okay. We left that alone. All right. So moving forward, as time went on, I actually went to a couple other different events, and I realized that this was a growing, struggling community, trying the best that they could to become part of the dance and to learn to dance. Beautiful thing. Cool. At that time, again, I wasn't as involved, not nearly, had no intention of being involved. And I watched this thing do what it did for a few years. And at that time, I was working out in the oil field, so I wasn't hardly ever home anyway. I was out hauling frac sand and doing my thing. So about the time things slowed down in the oil field, I told my wife, I was like, "Well, we have made money. Let's get up out of here. Let's go, because it's slow right now, and we can walk. We can call this a wash." And she said, "No, let's give San Antonio a chance." Whew. Okay, but we did. Now one day we heard about a stepper set going on over in Houston, so we ride over to Houston and we kick it. And I got told by Ken Holden and Daryl Smooth Greenwood. They said, "Man, you over there, them people need help. You supposed to be helping them. You from the crib. You supposed to be helping them." And I said, "Helping them how? Man, you know the game. You've been around stepping all your life, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Anyway, I ended up inadvertently becoming a part of the community and trying as hard as I could to help to correct some of the things that I saw that I knew for a fact were wrong. But here's the funny thing. There were instructors, and I use that term loosely, who were telling them things that I knew wasn't good for them. Now, it took a little time for me to become acclimated to accepting the process by which the instructors teach this 8 count. Okay, cool. And I rejected it for a long time, and I still am not a fan. That's my personal thing. Don't nobody get up in arms like, "Oh, you know." Listen, I've never been an 8 count stepper. I do it in order to be able to dance with other people who only know how to do an 8 count, basic, okay? Now, as time went on and I got more involved in the community, I made it my business to educate myself more, because there's no sense. And this is where the rub is going to come in, y'all. See, this is what I'm seeing around now. I made it my business to educate myself more on what was being taught outside Chicago, for the most part at that time, and trying to marry it with what I knew. Now, I was able to bridge some of it. I still have my opinions. They're mine. However, in order for this community to be cohesive, in order for this community to grow right now today, what we cannot have are and this is what I want to get rid of. What we cannot have is people saying, oh, that's old school, or that's new school. Listen, I believe it was Reggie Miles who made the statement, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but made the statement that said that hold on. Let me first say this. These are two dances. These are the same dance. They are not separate dances. I believe it was Reggie that said that these are categories for dance competition, not dance styles. Let's be very clear. Stepping is one dance. Whether it's 8 count, whether it's freestyle, whether it's new school, it's the same dance. I had to learn that. Why? Because I was resistant to the new. Here's what happens, y'all. At some point, you become an analog person operating in a digital world. Now, I say that to say this. There's room and necessity for analog and digital. I have a problem with individuals who are out here telling students things like, that's old, we don't do that anymore. I had a conversation with an individual, I believe it was the 2018 World's Largest, on the floor before the competition. And I'm going to go ahead. Ty Skippy was competing that year. And the person said to me, and I'm not going to say any names, the person said to me, oh, well, all that's old. Don't nobody want to see that. We don't do that anymore. Somehow or another, we have to get past that. Now, this is somebody who supposed to have been in the dance for quite a while. The conversation ended there. And that year, Ty Skippy won the World's Largest. Why? Because he's Ty Skippy. We all know how Ty Skippy get down. Now, here's the problem. You can't say that it's time for one to go out and another to come in, because if that's the case, then you need a new name for it, because it's no longer going to be Steppin if we're doing something different. Now, here's the thing, and this is what a lot of people like the Doc, the Tick, the Ty Skippys of the world, the Josiah Burts of the world understand. It's the same dance. It's all the same. The only difference is the cadence. The only difference is the way it's applied. Still the same dance. You can argue up and down, you can fight, but you're fighting a losing battle. And if you think that it's two different dances, then you're fighting yourself and you're stunting your own growth in the dance. Don't do that to yourself. Try to understand what it is that you're doing and learn to operate within the confines of the one dance. Now, y'all have to forgive me because I'm trying to keep all my thoughts together, because when I start talking about stuff like this, my head be swimming. I got 50,000 things going through my head all at once. Now, one thing I learned a long time ago, and it's when you learn to understand people, when you learn to understand something, it's way easier to deal with. See, how many times have any of us gotten into an argument or a fight with somebody, and rather than listen to the person to try to understand who they are and where they're coming from, we respond, we retort in order to take a jab back at them. We're not really listening to the other person. When we deal with this dance, we're dealing with a very similar and same situation. Rather than try and understand how one side feels about the other, we stab at each other when we should be paying attention. There are people across this country. Now, I'm going to say this for my people in Chicago, because you do have a lot of people in Chicago who've never really left the city, and they have a certain idea about Steppin, and that's where they're at. People from Chicago have a natural ideology about what Steppin is and why it is. Then you have people who are outside Chicago, some who have never been to Chicago, who do not understand that ideology. And guess what? They have an ideology of their own. And because they have that ideology, the two rarely meet. Now, and then you have people who will be in Chicago and they'll say, oh, they don't know what the hell they doing. They don't know nothing about this and this and that and the other. And then people this, that, and woo, woo, woo. They're not stepping. Then you have people that are outside Chicago, and many of whom have this label instructor, never been in Chicago before. Trust me, I've seen it. How are you teaching something that you don't know? Now, because you got it from somebody else. And the beat goes on. But now, here's the thing. We have to all learn to stop and understand one another. Understand why people are feeling the way they are about certain parts of the dance and in certain regions of the country. You have people going all over this country calling themselves instructors and teaching people different things about the dance, but what they're not doing, they're not giving the complete lesson, which is why you have these divisions. Now, I'm going to use a quote from Josiah Burt. When it comes to original style stepping, I'm going to call it original because I'm kind of tired of the old school, new school thing. I'm going to say an original style, or should I say freestyle? He said it's not that they don't do it anymore. It's that they can't do it. Now let's think about that. See, this is where we try to understand what somebody's saying. He makes a valid point because there are people who are going to mask their weaknesses. A complete instructor would be able to teach a person how to freestyle if that was in their toolbox. But guess what? Since they don't have that tool, they can't fix that problem. Don't let these people fool you. If you're a new stepper out here and you listening to me today, take the time, which is what most new steppers don't have the opportunity to do because a lot of them get tricked. Take the time and vet your instructor. Make sure they are who they say they are. The stepping world has an enormous resourceful community. There are tons of people across this country who are qualified and capable. We know each other. There are people out here who name drop. Boy, let me tell you, I've seen some shit. Excuse me. I have seen some stuff. Just because they drop a name and say they know this person, make sure. Vet them. Double check them. These people, I have watched people get told one thing or another about this dance or who they are. And they know this and they this, that, and the other. And they're like, I'll be with so-and-so. So what? Because guess what? Everybody from Chicago ain't a stepper. And everybody from Chicago damn sure can't teach. There are people who have come to me, oh man, you should teach me. And I'm quick to tell them, I ain't no instructor. Look, I can maybe show you something, if you want to, just we messing around, but what I'm not going to do is sit up there and I especially ain't gonna take your money. But when we learned to dance, when I was coming up, we had an eye hustle. We had the eye hustle. You saw a cat make a move, you like, oh, that was cold. You try to figure out a way to incorporate it into yourself, and then you work from it. And Kenneth Holden just put on this thing here, in case y'all don't know what he just said, he said the cup. The cup. That was something we used to do back in the day. We might be on the block drinking, and we'd take a styrofoam cup and we'd set it on the ground, and we did footwork around the cup. And the whole idea was don't kick the cup over. Sometimes that was for money or a drink, either one. But my point is, this is how we learned our dance. Now you have people who are supposed to be instructing, but they're not giving people everything that they need. They're not giving them the proper tools for the dance because they don't have the tools themselves to give. But they'll tell you, oh, we don't do that anymore. No, that's a lie. Because let me show you something. Now we have there's this new term called the get down, which is nothing more than what we used to refer to as man on man or lead. And then, and you have people, let that start to happen in a room, since we don't do that anymore. Let that happen in a room and watch where the crowd go. Boom. Everybody is dead on top of that watching. Why? If we don't do that anymore, why is it so fascinating? Why do all these people want to see it? Why is it such a thing? You know why? Because it ain't going to be but a handful of people in the room that can actually do it. But everybody else, them other guys in the back, oh, we don't do that no more. No, you can't. As a matter of fact, since you said that, step up. They're not going to do it. You know why? Because they can't do it. Don't get it twisted. So I'm saying all of this to say, we've reached a point where there is a transition taking place. There's a lot of confusion in this dance community. And I would love to see most of it get straightened out. I would love for us to be able to get some clarity, some uniformity in this dance, to where the people who are learning this dance and are part of this community start to understand that there really is no old school and there is really no new school. What we have is a portion of the dance that you learn in order to bring you into the fold of this culture. From there, you make it your own. Ain't no old, ain't no new. It's just a dance. Let's do that. Let's make it ours. Let's make it do what it do. When I was coming up, the whole trick was not to look like everybody else, but to keep it within the confines of the structure of the dance that we were doing. That's all anybody expects. And you know what? You know the reason why the light bulb goes off for so many people when they finally go to Chicago? Because they realize that they're not stuck to the regiment of a pattern that they must do every single time in order to make this dance something. This is not line dancing. This is stepping, y'all. This is a Chicago, deeply rooted part of lifestyle and culture that has been around for decades. It ain't gonna change. I'll tell anybody, stepping don't need none of y'all. One thing you can count on, if stepping had never left the borders of Illinois, even though it was going to do that anyway, because no matter what happens, there are people, and I've met plenty, who travel around the world and taught somebody. We got a girl right here in San Antonio right now who never took a class. Somebody she met in the military overseas taught her to dance. She can go. My point is that if this dance had never left the borders of Chicago, Illinois, you could go to Chicago tomorrow and it's still going to be a stepper set every day. You ain't got to wait for the weekend. You ain't got to work till third Friday. You don't have to wait until this date and that date. You can get up any night of the week, and it's been like this for as long as I can remember. You can get up damn near any night of the week. You can go to any of the clubs, any of the hole in the walls. You can walk up in a place we used to go to called the Godfather that had enough room for you to change your mind, and there'd be three people on the floor, three couples on the floor dancing. And that's real. This dance is going to be here when most of us, if not all of us, are gone. It ain't going nowhere. And What is important is that we, as the group of people who are now holding on to this, the stewards of the dance currently, if we don't give it to the people coming behind us the way that we should, we are going to lose it. We can't afford for that to happen. It's not going to happen, but in order for it to be done right. See, if you think that the people outside of Chicago don't know what they're doing and they have issues with the dance, you can almost blame Chicago for that. Why? It's sort of like a parent. If you have a child that leaves your house with no home training and they go out in the street and they do something stupid or crack out a turn or say something dumb, part of that has to do with their upbringing. This same idea is part of why we have so many people across this country that don't get it. Because if you have a child, if a child has a child, say a 13-year-old just had a baby, she got to raise this baby. Ain't nobody there to help her. What can a 13-year-old teach a child? Not much. You got two children raising, one raising the other one. By the time that other child becomes of age and has another child, now we got two generations of craziness, potential craziness, with no real guidance. What do you think is going to come from that? This is where we're headed if we're not real careful in this dance. So we have to make sure that wherever we go and we help to make the dance better, we have to make sure that the proper information is provided and that these hustlers, because I'm going to just be straight up with y'all, we got some grifters in this dance. Grifters. Y'all know what a grifter is? Con man. That's called confidence. They get your confidence and then they take your money. We have people in this community who don't have no real good intentions about teaching people really about this dance. They're more interested in getting that money out their pockets. You understand me? The pimp game is strong over here. You got to be careful. Don't get pimped in this dance. Make sure that these people are giving you what they say they're supposed to be giving you. But see, here's the problem. People don't know what they're supposed to be getting because they can tell you any damn thing. A lot of people, and let me show you something else. This is something, I had a conversation earlier today and something was brought to my attention which did not occur to me. Did y'all know that, and this shows you how far outside the borders of Chicago this dance is going. In 2019, a large majority of the winners of the world's largest steppers competition were from Atlanta. Atlanta came and cleaned house in 19. I don't know how many of y'all know this, but this year it was Michigan. Yeah. Multiple individuals who placed or won were all from Michigan. The winners of the beginners competition, Michigan. Drew and his partner, Michigan. The list goes on. There are more. Here's my point. This dance is no longer within the city limits. It is national. But we do have some responsibility about making sure that it remains with its integrity, with its proper feel, with everything that goes with it. As far as new school and old school, I hate the terms go. This weekend, on Friday, I believe it was, Josiah Burt had a original footwork workshop. He is out in here to prove that this is the same dance. I commend him for that. An original footwork workshop. Now, what does that mean? That means that now we have an opportunity, or he has an opportunity, to spread the information about just how close these two dances are. They're married. They're together. It's the same dance. But you just have to learn how to work it properly. It's not that it ain't, it ain't that we don't do that. We don't do that. No, that's not true. We do that. The point is, you just have to learn what it is that's being done. Back to what I said earlier. When you learn to understand something, it becomes easier for you to digest. When it comes to, because let me tell you why that footwork workshop was necessary and why more people need to be on that. Now pay attention. When I was coming up in the dance, I remember back in the day, one night I was in the other place. Now that's a club that used to be on the corner of 75th and King Drive. That was one of my watering holes. It was an after hour spot. And I was in there, and there was an older lady. There was an older crowd that used to come in there. In fact, I saw some of the coldest walkers that ever walked the earth in the other place. Old heads, long since gone. But when I went to dance with this woman, she told me, "Don't turn me." Okay. I have heard that before, and I will continue. Well, back in those days, you would hear it. Why? Because most of those women, those older women, were in the generation of boppers. They didn't do all them turns. They were in the generation of dancers. Here's where the rub comes in. The so-called new school, Reggie Miles likes to sort of make fun of the 9,875 turns. Do y'all know what the reason for the turns really are? Don't get me wrong, they look good, they're fun. But here's the truth. Turns are a replacement for footwork. Fellas, if you're on the floor and a lady say, "Don't turn me," what you got? What can you give her? I just want to know, what can you give her? Are you prepared to stand in front of a woman for 3 minutes and not give her one turn? Can you do it? That's a challenge for you. Because some of y'all can't do it. You know who you are. Can you stand in front of a woman and give her a good dance with no turns? Footwork is necessary. It is the replacement. It's why turns came in, because, I can't got nothing else. Here, turn. And guess what? If you watch some of the guys that's constantly turning women, you don't hardly see them move. Their feet don't move. They don't have no footwork. They don't have nothing. Waist up, turn over here, flip, turn. Where your feet at though? Footwork. That's why it's necessary. Same dance without the turns. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I bet I done talked y'all's ear off. I could go on, but I ain't going to. I think y'all get my point. What I want is for us to not be so critical of one another. What I want is for us to learn to understand one another and why these things are the way they are. I hope that I've been able to turn on a light bulb for somebody tonight. Give somebody a little bit of clarity, and maybe make them have some more questions, some stuff they gotta ask. Like, whoa, okay, well, wait a minute, what was he saying? Okay, wait, let me look into that. I hope I was able to at least do that. Even if you got to call me and say, "B, I don't agree." Okay, let's talk about why. Why? Because I want to understand where you coming from. You've taken the time to pay attention to me long enough to try and understand where I'm coming from. I want to understand where you coming from. So if you feel that way, let's get some clarity. Let's get some understanding. Let's get to a point where we can bridge those gaps that we have in this community to make it better for all of us, so that we come to one common place and understanding that this dance is here to stay. Not only is it here to stay, let's make sure that those that are doing it understand it. Let's make sure that them shysters out there, them charlatans, that's telling you we don't do that, and that's old. Let's understand that. And I'm gonna tell you, and if you hear one of them say it, ask them, can they do it? Don't oh yeah, well, ask them, can they actually do it? Of course they're gonna probably say, oh yeah, I can do it, I just don't. BS. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've talked y'all's ears off. And in doing so, again, I hope I've been able to give enough people some food for thought, a little something to make you ask questions, a little something to make you dig a little deeper, a little something to make you improve your dance. And if I haven't, I apologize. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. But we're going to get another chance to do it again. So, with that said, I'm going to say good night. And I thank you all very much. Again, congratulations to all of those fantastic winners of the 30th Annual World Steppers Competition and Masters. All of the people who competed, kudos to you, because you got your butt up there and you did the thing and you made us all real proud. Made me proud. I mean, man, look, black excellence, baby. Everybody looked good. Everybody just, man, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, with that said, I keep saying with that said, but we gonna get up out of here, y'all. So, I love you. Thank you. We gonna talk again real soon. But I want everybody to have themselves a fantastic evening. And stay tuned for the Black Factor on tomorrow at 7. And we're going to talk about these Haitian refugees under the bridge here in Texas. And I do have an interviewee who is a Haitian pastor, and he's going to tell us about what they're trying to do to help alleviate that situation. So everybody have yourselves a fantastic evening. I love you very much, and good night. This has been Inside Steppin'. Peace.